Hey everybody, this is Minion Soldier, and this is the Piracy Show. Now, on today's show, I wanted to talk about something a little different. I mean, last time we talked about the pirate interceptor, possibly called the Buccaneer, probably called something else. But I wanted to focus on something else because there has been an issue that has cropped up. Usually, it happened this just last year, just at the end of the year, and it happened the year before. And that's whenever the Javelin, this ship here, comes up for sale, things tend to get a little bit crazy. And there's a lot of people and a lot of orgs that feel that there's a certain amount of pressure to get capital ships, Idrises, Javelins, and some people get together, they pool funds, and then they try to buy one of these things. And it can be very hit and miss because it's kind of a lottery, and it's not, I don't think it's really working out in a way where it's kind of beneficial to the community. And so I kind of wanted to deal with that and offer a possible alternative. Now, I'm not gonna. What I'm gonna suggest is, it's a possibility. It's not something that where I would say, well, obviously CIG has got to alter their policies to make way for other people who want to buy capitals. They should be free for everyone. And it's not even so much that possibly looking at taking the new Corvette that's supposedly coming out and making it an open sale, even though I feel that it should be. But what I'm talking about is this ship right here. This is the Vanduul Hunter Destroyer. Now, we already know that there are pilots who are flying around in scythes, which are adapted Vanduul ships that humans can fly. We've got glaives, but those are more like a reproduction than an actual enemy ship that's been repurposed for human use. But we do know that it is possible to adapt Vanduul technology to human pilots. And so I think maybe what some of the community's focus should be on is making sure that alien tech is adaptable even on the capital ship level to human use, because this ship looks like just an amazingly badass destroyer, and I would love to know more about the stats on this thing, and I would love to learn more about it. If I was really dead set on getting a capital ship, I would really think that unless the new Corvette ended up being something really amazing, something that would cause me to kind of sit back and go, okay, you know what? Let me rejigger my fighter idea. I in fact want this instead, and melt all that and then just go for this Corvette if it's really that good. But honestly, if I were to get a capital ship, or if I were leading an org that felt that they needed destroyers, and I mean the need for destroyers is not really a certain thing. I mean, it would probably be more useful in PvE than it would be in PvP. But I mean, it would still arguably probably have a very good use in PvE. And it's still, a big enough capital that you can basically log off and not have to worry about protecting it when the crew is logged off. I would really be interested in finding out for certain that we can kind of take these ships and steal them, because this might be something that people may want to invest some time thinking in, and possibly even orgs getting together and saying, you know what, once we're able to get out of like the Crusader system and go out beyond this system to other systems, once we can get into Vanduul space, it'd probably be a worthy idea to explore the possibility of stealing a Vanduul destroyer. One thing kind of seems clear, and it was another issue that I kind of wanted to touch on a little bit, but it's this ship right here that you see up on screen, the Hornet Ghost. obviously a stealth ship. Now, we've also gotten another stealth ship coming up, the Saber, and then we got a third one, which is the Prowler, the stealth boarding ship. So we have all these like stealth geared vessels. It might be worthy to kind of explore if you can't kind of put these ships together into some kind of a strike force and maybe slip into Vanduul space and steal a capital. Quickly kind of take out its escorts and then just kind of move in and board the ship and just take the ship mostly intact. It just, to me, the difference between spending up to $2,500 in the real world or holding out for the possibility that maybe you might not have to spend any money, you might just have to spend time once the game is released. I would kind of hold back on spending that much money and just kind of investigate the possibility that you might be able to kind of get a capital ship for free, and it would be kind of like an org goal, like an org mission that you could kind of get together and say, okay, you know what, we're gonna kind of make it our business that once the game hits and once everything counts and once once we get to that point in beta where everything that we're doing actually counts and where the insurance actually counts and the credits that we make, actually we get to keep them, that would be the time where I would be seriously looking to kind of move into Vanduul space and see if I can't swipe a decent capital ship or decent large size cargo ships, because they also have those as well. It would be very, very interesting to see what exactly we can steal from the Vanduul rather than pay real cash for it now. And if you're sitting there and you're thinking, every time these destroyers come up, we're getting all this money together and we just never get a chance, we never get a fair shake at it. It might not be that big a deal. It might be possible that you could go out and get this thing more or less for free. Another thing to consider is we've got Squadron 42 coming this year, so we're gonna get obviously a face-to-face encounter with the Vanduul, and we're gonna be learning a lot about them coming up, and that knowledge is obviously going to have a practical application in the PU, at least some of it. We're going to get used to them. We're going to kind of know how they work, their tactics, beyond just doing the Vanduul swarm over and over and over again like we are doing now. So I think that overall, it's something worth investigating, and I mean, especially with stealth boarding ships and stealth fighters, I mean, that could be an excellent way to kind of slip into Vanduul territory and basically steal ships. And I mean, we seem to have a lot of equipment that is kind of geared towards that. I mean, when you think about caterpillars, reclaimers, things like that, ships that, let's say you do this every Friday night, you get together with your org, and instead of sort of like, how WoW players will have raid nights like Thursdays and Fridays or whatever, you all get together, you all form big groups, and you just kind of go into Vanduul space. You get as much of your org together, and you just kind of move into Vanduul space and see if you can't steal a Vanduul ship, steal a few Vanduul ships, and even if you don't want to take them for personal use, I mean, a hunter destroyer would probably go for a pretty penny on the market in the UEE. You'd probably get quite a bit of money for something that like a capital ship. And not only that, I mean, even if, let's say you're not able to capture it, but you do destroy it, the parts from that thing, like the parts that you might be able to salvage off of it, would probably be worth a heck of a lot of money, because it's not like anybody who might own a ship like that in the UEE would readily have access to parts for their ship in case parts break down, parts get damaged, or even quote unquote like a replacement if their ship gets destroyed, because you can't. I mean, you can insure possibly a Vanduul ship for money, But could you really say, okay, well, your Vanduul destroyer got destroyed, so we just got to wait for a replacement to come from the factory? I mean, it can't really work that way. You can't just like go to the Vanduul market and say one destroyer, please. So there could potentially be a significant industry there for players who are, a little bit more action oriented to get out there and make some real money, basically committing acts of piracy against the Vanduul, for which I can't see that there would be any kind of legal repercussions within the UEE, right? Another thing to think about, I mean, when you're kind of organizing this around the idea of, say, a raid night, let's say, you get a large group of players together. Let's say your org can put together, say, 40 players who are all ready to go Friday night. Let's go into Vanduul space. Let's rip some stuff off. Now, one of your other concerns might be, okay, but what happens if other players kind of come around and mess with us and, screw us up while we're on our raid night? Well, technically, like with instance limits being described the way they are described right now, let's say, the goal is 50, the dream is 100, but let's say they get to 50, right? If you've got 40 players together, that means in the instance that you're traveling together in, 40 out of the 50 players in that instance are all in your fleet. You probably don't have to worry too much about the other 10. And those other 10 will probably avoid you. And if there's other groups moving around in large groups, chances are they're going to be put into their own instance, because you can't just have a group of 40 and 40 and put them together in a 50-man instance, right? And you can't just say, okay, well, we're going to take 10 out of this group and put them in the other instance just so this instance is full. It's not going to kind of work out that way. I can't really see it working that way. So you would probably be pretty safe when you're doing stuff like this in terms of PvE. And certainly for orgs that maybe want to try out piracy, but don't really want to piss off other players, but would still like to experience it, here's a way to kind of enjoy the pirate lifestyle without having to, quote unquote, pay the price. So, I don't know. Something to think about. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the show, and thanks for watching.
Quantum travel initiated.